Over the weekend, Sarah Palin and the entire Palin clan were involved in a dog pile brawl in Anchorage. Details are still pretty sketchy at this point. All we really have to go off of is some low-res cell phone camera footage of the fight. Let's take a look.
You can definitely make out Todd and track.
I saw Bristol.
You saw Bristol,
yeah. You cannot take both of them. You either go with Todd or Track.
But Todd
Very
is not funny.
dressers.
Todd's just the first one. That's just setting it up. Track is the punchline.
Literally,
It turns out, literally.
But making it out, saying there's Todd. That's your joke, and then you say, yeah, and then I say, oh, there's Track. You know.
Wow.
It's
So
just
I slept Bristol in my back
hog.
pocket. Okay, so now it turns out that video is not that far from accounts of what actually happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why. If you're gonna throw the party, why do it in mud? That doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, we do have an account from a blogger in Alaska. We're gonna read that for you. Understand it's a blogger, but it's funny, so we're gonna read it. The blogger Amanda Coyne says, "It was a nice mellow party until the Palins show up. There's beer, of course, and maybe other things." I think she means meth. Track Palin stumbles out of a stretch Hummer and immediately spots an ex-boyfriend of Willow's. Track isn't happy with this guy, the story goes. There's words and more. The owner of the house gets involved, and he probably wished he hadn't. At this point, he's up against nearly the whole Palin tribe. Palin women screaming, Palin men thumping their chests. Word is that Bristol has a particularly strong right hook, which she employed repeatedly, and it's something to hear when Sarah screams, "Don't you know who I am?" And it was particularly wonderful when someone in the crowd screamed back, "This isn't some damned hillbilly reality show." But yeah, it was described, as I said, as a dog pile, like you see in a football game.
Okay, now there's so much to love in this story. First of all, the police have confirmed that the Palins were there. Okay, now they're still investigating the incident, so they won't give us more details.
Yeah. Let me just interject something there right off the bat, because I read the account from the blogger and I thought the story's not true. It's not completely untrue, but it's mostly untrue. I mean, I love the little detail about the stretch Hummer.
Yeah, that's my second favorite part.
But then, as I read the police report and the way the cops say that they were there, what's the point of including that in a police report unless they were involved in it? So I flipped, and I now think some Palins were involved in the fight.
And a not so fun story. Eric Thompson is a guy who was at the party and gave an account of what had happened to ABC News. Eric Thompson's been fired from his job for
We
giving
actually
that
have
account.
some footage from his appearance.
Yeah.
Why don't we go to that?
Bristol just reached back and start clocking him, and she hit him, reached way back here and caught him right in the chin, I counted at least 6 times.
Eric Thompson says he was one of 70 guests at a birthday party in Anchorage on Saturday.
They were knocking his head back, and he was straightening his head back up, and he'd get hit again. And I heard Sarah Palin scream out, "You know who we are, don't you?" It was like we were just on a Jerry Springer episode.
So now that's a second witness. Fryer was the first witness, he's a second witness. Ben, not only do I agree with you, we had the story yesterday and didn't put it on air. Anna spiked the story, said, "I don't believe this story."
Yeah,
okay.
I have lower standards.
Yeah, and because it was, at the time it was just a blogger from Anchorage and
It seemed too
good to be true.
And and her story was cute. She wrote it cute.
Right. And so the part that rang a little questionable to me was, "Don't you know who I am?" Right? Because that's the best part of the story, right? And it turns out, according to the witnesses, she did say something along those lines. So the story was totally true.
Unless that's the same guy in both stories.
No,
Well,
it's not.
a blogger.
It's not.
Yeah, it's a different.
Yeah,
it was
the
a woman
blogger-
who
But the
blogged,
blogger theoretically got all her information
No.
from sources.
There's a second witness.
It's a different source.
Two
There's
people
two
said,
different
all right,
sources.
yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Good.
So it did happen. So that guy, as you heard, Bristol 6 times to the chin. She should look into some sort of career. I've been in a lot of fights. I don't think I've hit 6 for 6 to the chin. She's good, man. Track gets his shirt torn. He's walking around shirtless. I don't even know who these people are.
He was shirtless, and Todd was trying to stop
bloody
a
nose.
bloody nose.
Yeah.
Party, 70 guests apparently at this party.
Like, I think Willow's some sort of boyfriend started it, right?
The ex-boyfriend. It was Track didn't like Willow's ex-boyfriend.
Right, those two people, I don't know who they are. Like I know Track is a son, I believe, and Willow is a daughter, right? But I don't know how old Willow is. Is Track the one that went to Iraq?
Yeah. Can I bring up a point though?
I think that's right about Track. Yeah.
Track was in Iraq. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're throwing around names like Track and Willow and things like that. And so it sounds like they had this nice little white person's party in Alaska. But can you imagine if this had been like Obama going to a party and his whole family gets in a big brawl, how the media would be talking about them, that they're drinking and yelling at each other
Also
and brawling.
making fun
These
of the
animals.
names, Barack, Malia.
Oh, totally.
This is Track and Willow, and what's the other? And Stardust.
Yeah. No, they would be talking about these are savages. Look at the example they're setting for the rest of the country. And yet these people, the same exact people, love Sarah Palin. They think that her and her family are everything that's great about America when they're going and getting in backyard brawls like they live in Appalachia.
But I guarantee you, 'cause she doesn't get hurt by this story. Conservatives love this story. They're like, oh, bloody no. That's an American family right there. They get drunk and
She's always said she's a hockey mom. So
yeah, there you go.
And they stick together. They back each other up.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think it's that bad a story, except that it's like was on the Jimmy Dore show yesterday talking about John McCain being wrong. I don't know. I think it's just a practice. It doesn't actually go anywhere. It's like a shower show. But talking about John McCain going on criticizing Obama on response to ISIS, and we were all talking about again as we have here. Who brings this guy on? Like a guy who's been wrong. But he's such a standard bearer of those shows, and this guy literally made what perhaps the worst decision that anyone has made in public life in the last 30 years. He put that woman a hair's breadth away from the White House.
He did. And today, to keep this even more topical than it already is, Sarah Palin was on with Sean Hannity today, surprising none, but she apologized to America because she says she should have done more to help John McCain win, because had John McCain won, we wouldn't be in this mess and things. We would have somebody handling it the way it should have been handled. So she gave she called it a global apology to America, which I love too, because you can't give a global apology to America.
Isn't Sarah Palin and others like her against apology tours?
Yeah, that's right.
She did a whole global one.
Well, to be fair, now they might have sent the whole Palin family to fight ISIS, and that would have been a fair fight.
That would have been good. Apparently, that would have been good.